in the house.
Okay. My name is J.R. We are from Kansas City, Kansas. There's a Kansas side and a Missouri side, so we from the Kansas side. And my dad is actually the preacher in the household. A very interesting man.
He's very interesting.
That's a word. Very interesting.
That's awesome. Awesome. So y'all are in Kansas City, home of the Chiefs.
Absolutely.
Chiefs fans, I suppose.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes.
It's about time for somebody else to get in that bowl, though.
No, we love there.
We love it. We love it.
So one of the things that we've been talking about is we've been really trying to bring some revelation to everybody who may be looking into this podcast about what it's like to grow up in a house of a preacher. So let's kind of build that foundation from a foundational standpoint. What is it like?
You want me to go?
Yeah,
I'll
go
go.
ahead.
Well, there's a lot of layers to it. Because, I mean, in our dynamic, it's, we had daddy and mama. Daddy was a preacher, but then he's also military. So it was like strict on top
Double.
of strict. With just learning those dynamics of just the intricacies of my father, I guess you could say. But I mean, it wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
One thing that I can say about like how our parents raised us was they allowed us to explore our individuality within the confines of you still gonna go to church.
Yeah.
So it was like they gave us choice in some areas, but still
There were still some non-negotiables.
there were some non-negotiables. Like, here's what you're going to do. And then within this, here are some other options that we can look at as well.
Yeah.
And that's my take on it.
I think another thing with my pops is he told us he'd never force church on us because growing up, they was country. So, on Sundays, it was from sun up to sundown. It was always church.
Yeah.
So he said he hated that and he didn't want that for his kids.
Wow.
So with us, like I said, he, gave us the choice of if you want to go to church, cool. If you don't, that's on you.
And like, they didn't put pressure on us to go to the second services.
Oh,
The food used to be good at the second services, though. I ain't
Come
even gonna
on,
lie.
what you
Them
talking
green
about?
beans with them
What?
potatoes. But like they never forced us.
You
to
see how the
go.
young one doesn't even know anything about
You
the
don't know
second
nothing
service.
about no second service.
Know about that 3 o'clock service?
Man, get out of church at 12. Gotta go home real fast.
Real quick.
Man.
Maybe change clothes.
I know.
Man.
I know about a 3 o'clock nap. That's what I know about. So
You come back and you maybe have a guest church or something like that
Yep.
coming in.
Yep, and it
Or you
usually
got to
be at
travel
the
to another guest church.
the churches where it's hot. They gonna pass out them fans.
Man.
That one ceiling fan that make that noise.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
that fan. Those are the sights and scenes and sounds of that evening service.
Yes.
Yep. That's
And
how
you knew you were going to eat good.
Yep, exactly.
Yep.
Wow.
With them fold out chairs. That's it.
okay, I know about them.
Yeah.
I know about,
The ones
Fold-out
without,
chairs?
yeah,
the
I
ones
know
without
about
the
them,
cushion on it, the
Yeah.
metal ones.
The metal ones.
Oh, the brown one?
Yep.
I know about it.
Yep.
But you know, that was so interesting because you said he gave you guys the choice. Like I came from a home where there was no choice. Like we were literally made to go. Looking at that, what do you think, hindsight, that did for you to have the option? What do you think that did for you, for your individuality to say, okay, if I go to church now, it's because I literally choose to go.
Exactly. It was, the option wasn't there until after we graduated from high school. Let me say that. Let
Okay,
me say
good
that.
clarification. Good
Yes,
clarification.
Yes, because it was, we had the choice. Okay, you're going to go to church, period. Now, when you're at church, you either going to be an usher or you're going to be in the choir. So which one are you going to choose? That's where the choice comes in. JR chose to be an usher. I was in the choir.
Okay.
But you can see how it fits our personalities. Ushers are more low key.
They got them
kinda
hand
quiet.
signals.
Yeah.
So what you trying to say about her then? Well, you said you low key.
She be trying to show out. Y'all out there, just center of attention like that. But that's how she is.
No.
Very outspoken.
No.
I'm more quiet, to myself and reserved. So.
said center of attention. No, and it's funny because my daddy, he and I were talking the other day, and he said, Deidra, you're 70% of me and 30% of your mama. Well, my mama was very outgoing, just not loud, but she was just, you could tell when she was in the room. Whereas my daddy, he's straightforward. It's black or white. There's hardly any gray. We're like, okay, are we going this way or are we going that way?
Blunt.
Yeah, super blunt, no filter. My mouth gets me in trouble sometimes. But yeah, so.
What you trying to say?
Hey, Ma said it, not me. She said it, not me.
Tread lightly.
That's how I am?
No. She said you were super blunt.
Everybody needs those people in their lives to tell the truth.
There you go.
know.
There you go. There you go. There's no sense in sugarcoating.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You remember that Sunday where he was like, Jarrell, you suck?
That was hilarious, though.
It was facts, though.
I mean, it's a good sermon.
And when he gets in life and somebody tells him he's not good at a thing, it won't crush him.
Yeah.
My dad has told me worse.
Exactly.
And he's prepared me for no.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
No just means next option.
You remember what Daddy told me when I was getting bad grades? So I was getting bad grades in, I think, high school, and I wanted to play basketball. He gave me a broom, and he gave me a dustpan.
Which, again, nothing's wrong with this.
Yeah, nothing is wrong with it.
In this
This is
context.
your profession. But he was like, this is what you're going to be doing for the rest of your life if you don't get your grades together.
And I'm standing in the back cracking up.
Hey.
But that's how my dad was. He gonna set it straight. That's how it is.
Yep.
You know, and I think so many times people think that we're not normal people.
Yeah.
Like this just sounds to me like normal parents raising normal kids. To me, that's what it sounds like. But people have this stigma placed on us that we're supposed to be so much more, so much. So what was the things that you all had to wrestle with where people like put something on you like, I can't believe you said or did that because your dad is the preacher. Did you experience that? And what were some of those things that you experienced?
I think in our church, so they saw us grow up as little babies.
Yeah.
So they saw us grow from little diapers to, college graduates.
Yeah.
So with us, they looked at us as we could do no wrong.
Wow.
And they put this, I would say, unrealistic expectations on us.
Yep.
As far as, you can chime in on this, but we couldn't do anything without it getting to somebody else. And it's like they waited for you.
I would tell on myself.
It's like they wanted you to do something wrong.
We see how she was.
Exactly.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, she was like... Yeah, they waited for you to do something wrong. Any little thing you did, and it was going to get out to somebody.
Yep.
So it's like sometimes you got to like walk on eggshells even as a kid, to make sure like your business, doesn't get out there.
Yeah. Because when it did, it was. There's a particular voice that I remember, and you'll be able to
I
recognize.
know who you're
this
talking
voice.
about.
Reverend Elijah. I just don't understand why your daughter is wearing jeans.
What?
Daddy,
Yo.
like that was me. Come get them.
She would say that in front of.
Yeah, why are you
You
wearing
and-
jeans? I don't know. Ask my daddy. Daddy, come. She right. Hello. I'm supposed to be scared of you, but that was my personality.
Okay.
Just
Okay.
straightforward.
Yeah.
These unrealistic expectations, and my brother and I have always been the type to not necessarily. And J.R., I don't want to speak for you, but we've been the type to we ask questions. Why is it that you're saying that we can't wear jeans to church?
It got so bad. I remember one time we went to this convention.
Oh,
and
my
we wearing
goodness.
jeans,
Or
right?
the
The
convention.
Call Valley Baptist Convention.
But anyway,
I remember
like,
that.
so y'all gonna give the world y'all best, but you can't give God your best.
What? Somebody said that to you personally?
Yeah, because we wearing jeans in the church.
Was
Like
it just
jeans-
because it was like a convention, or?
That's how they are back then. The old school people. It's like
Yeah.
you gotta, wear suits and ties and all that stuff. So I'm like, so wearing jeans gonna send me to hell? Like, is that the thing? like, so we had to deal with a lot of that growing up. It's just you're set in a different category than all the rest of the kids, and I felt like it was unfair.
All the rest of the kids in the church?
In the
even?
church.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Because you're the kid of Reverend Elijah.
Oh, man.
You know, so you're measured by a different standard than everybody else.
Yeah.
So it was super annoying growing up.
It was. It was.
But you just didn't care. You just going to let them know what you thought. That's what.
Period. I mean, yeah. Yeah.
No filter.
None. And it was always like respectful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I would look at an adult and say, respectfully, you can talk to my father about that.
And what was I'm curious to know, how would your dad handle that?
Oh, basically, like, why are you bothering the kids? Like, my daddy was always under the impression that kids will be kids.
Yeah.
And
love it.
as strict as he was, it's like there's a teddy bear on the inside.
Yeah.
And so, like, his kids mean a lot to him. And so some of the stipulations that he grew up under, you know, going to church day and night and no choice and all this and that, he just did not want his kids to experience something being forced down their throat.
Yeah.
And it helped me to understand, you know, when they say train up a child in the way he should go.
Come on.
When he is old, he will not depart from it. It doesn't mean that daddy's going to parent us identical. Train up a child in the way he should go.
Yeah.
JR's way is different than my way.
That's good.
And so daddy found a way that was even different from the way he was brought up to say, Lord, which way do you want me to lead my kids?
Wow.
And so even through the small things, like they gave us choice with JR always wanted cracker stackers. I always wanted pepperoni pizza. He wanted ham and cheese. I wanted Philly cheese. I mean, they
Yeah.
always gave us choice, and even down to, okay, you graduated from college, you're grown. Now we're gonna let y'all have it. And there'll be times where Sundays, mama, get up, get up, get up, get up, get up. Used to hate that. You just flip on the lights and take the sheets off.
Yeah.
Get up, get up, get up.
But one thing I will say is my parents, they instilled Christ in us at an early age.
Yeah.
Come on. Yeah.
So instilling Christ in kids at a very early age
That's good.
and not forcing church on them. So in college, I'm just gonna be real. I would be in my dorm room sleeping.
Yep.
I'll be out partying, you know, Saturday nights or whatever, and then
Yeah.
Sundays I'm in, you know, sleeping. But after a while, like as you grow up and you start going through stuff, you're like, okay, the teachings that mama and daddy taught us,
Yeah.
now you're starting to live through that stuff.
Yeah.
So, like I said, that scripture that you just quoted, I mean, it's real.
Yeah.
It's true.
Like you return back to it. You know where home base is. It's
Yeah.
not meaning that you're not going to explore
Yeah.
or go astray. And I think those are some of the stipulations that we have on preachers' kids, which is why we get a bad name.
Oh my gosh, we're the worst.
Oh, preachers' kids, y'all are terrible. Well, I mean, it's more so of sometimes there are, like y'all said, unrealistic expectations that are set on people to where they don't get that opportunity to explore. Do I like this style of learning or do I like this style of learning?
Yeah.
Like if it's just forced down someone's throat, the natural reaction is I want it
Reject.
out.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
with anything in life. So it's just making that thing palatable for people to see, like, even when I do face, you know, some hard times, I know where my foundation is.
Yeah.
And I tell people now, I'm like, dude, I'm a human. I'm going to mess up.
Most
Even to
definitely.
this day, I mess up. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm cool with it. Because, you know, like sometimes you'll be around a group of people and they don't want to be around you because you Reverend Elijah's son.
Yeah.
And they keep judging them. And
Yeah.
I'm like, bro, if y'all want to drink or whatever, like, that's cool with me. Like,
Yeah.
that's your business.
Yep.
I ain't got no problem with it.
Most definitely.
But don't think that I'm just like this, like, holy dude that's just so self-righteous that
Yeah.
you can't be around.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't care. Y'all do
I appreciate the respect, but
exactly.
you know what I'm saying? Like, and that was how it was for me all the time. I never forget this. I was at a football game and there was a parent of a kid that played on the same team with CJ. And they were sitting on the fence. We were just a couple of dudes hanging out talking about sports. And they were cussing up a storm. Just, man, and we're having a blast. And I'm like, no, Kobe is better than LeBron, and we just going at it, right? Yeah. And all of a sudden, I guess his wife decided they were visiting churches. Mm-hmm. So he comes to Zion one Sunday, and he sees me walk out. He was like, that's the pastor. He was like, man, oh snap. After church, he was like, man, I want to apologize. I said, no, look, I didn't even address myself as a pastor. Man, we were just dudes hanging out, man.
Yep.
And he was like, man, that's mad respect. Mm-hmm. They actually ended up joining our church.
Yeah.
And because they got to know the guy.
Exactly.
And I'm just, man, I'm a dude just like you.
Yeah.
Yep.
So many people get wrapped up in like titles.
Yeah.
Pastor this, Reverend this. Oh, those are the PKs. Prophet this, prophetess this. Mm-hmm. Deidra, J.R., Chris, CJ.
That's it.
You are the person before you're ever the title.
Exactly.
So.
And one of the things that, there's some people watching, and I hope there's some pastors watching who's got some kids in your house and need to understand what you guys just said, giving that option, giving that space. You said something so powerful that it just struck me. And I said I wanted to revisit this because it's one thing for people to come to your parents and say, like they're telling on you. Mm-hmm. But it's another thing for your dad to have your back.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. How important was that? He didn't come to you and be like, why you got on those jeans? You shouldn't wear those jeans, and you should. How important was it for your dad to not only, hear it, but to say, they're just kids? Mm-hmm. Like, because there's a lot of emotional trauma with some people who don't have that support from their preacher, pastor, parents. Mm-hmm. How important was that for you to say he's got our back?
Securing. Because I even think, and I could be wrong, but I think Daddy would even, on some Sundays when he wasn't in the pulpit, when he'd sit down, in a congregation with us, he'd have on jeans and his cowboy boots. And
I love it.
I mean, he's the type, he'll lead by example. Mm-hmm. And he was always the type to never put church in a box. He was always the challenger, too, which is where we got it from.
Yeah.
And just understanding that the simple things is the clothing that you wear and all this and that. Like, all of that stuff can deter someone from church. So why are we doing this to the younger generation who already may have questions?
Already.
So it just provided that security, like, dang, my daddy has my back. And then to see him with jeans on, too, because it's more so of like, I kind of see like a superhero and then like a little kid in the back, like, that's my back,
But another thing with Daddy is, and he would always tell us this, he was like, you got to think. And he would challenge us to think.
Yes.
So he knows as kids that, we're not dumb. If we're presented with a problem, we're going to think our way through it.
Absolutely.
So, when people are coming to us about the whole gene situation or whatever, like, he knows, okay, my kids, they got it.
They can handle their own.
Exactly.
Yeah. And you are the oldest.
I am. Yeah.
So what has been
Yo.
Now, first of all, was she spoiled?
Yes. So as babies, as babies, like I said, I was quiet, reserved, to myself. Mm-hmm. Then you got her. Kicking and screaming, and I mean, literally, we got baby tapes. All you do is hear her screaming and crying. That's all she's been.
I've always looked up to my brother, and so when I would see my brother walking and I'm crawling, I would get so frustrated.
Yeah.
When I'm presented with problems, and to this day, I'm still that way. You cannot tell me, no, Deidra, you're not capable of doing something, because I'm going to show you why I can. So actually, I crawled. My knees never hit the ground. I crawled differently to try to figure out how to walk so I can keep up with my brother.
Wow.
And we've always had this healthy competition between us. I mean, that's from playing sports. We played on the same baseball team, basketball team. The only sport my mama would not let me play was football. She's like, now that's crossing the line. No.
You are not going out there.
Not going out there.
Even to this day, it's like, she'll be like, oh, yeah, I got a promotion. I'm like, well, I got a raise too, right?
I love it.
It's healthy competition.
But like growing up in a household, especially being the oldest, it's like I always took it upon myself to be a role model for her. And like I was telling you earlier, she was like my little brother growing up. Because like she was such a tomboy, and we would hoop. We would play football out in the yard. Remember, because we lived in a cul-de-sac with a whole bunch of kids, and them kids was bad.
Bad.
All them kids was bad. But we was kind of like the ringleaders.
Yep.
And, as she got older, she got more girly and stuff. But like I said, I always took it upon myself to be a role model for her.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I always try to keep my nose clean.
So who's the best athlete in the family? I want to know right now. Who the best athlete in the family?
This is what I'll say.
Okay.
So I would say I was the best athlete, but the most talented was her. Okay. She could just roll out of bed and immediately just get first place in everything. With me, I had to put in the work.
Practice. Like, and JR and my parents, they would get so mad at me because I just quit the sport. I would. I'd be like, man, I'm tired of this. I'm done.
You don't like practice.
But I was that good. And it's not even me being I was that good.
You was arrogant. You was arrogant.
He said, "No, wait a minute. Let's go back. Let's go."
I could
She's like, I ain't even got to practice.
I don't. I'm sorry.
Practice?
I didn't. I could just get out of
AI.
bed. I could just get out of bed and
get first place in everything.
It just came easy.
It's lightweight.
But when I think back on it, like, dang, I wish that my parents would have told me, no, you need to stick with this.
Yeah.
You need to stick with this sport, see it through.
Quit everything.
I would quit everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
That's interesting you say, like, that's one area where you say, I wish my parents would have. I have a lot of those, like, I look back. My dad and I he was the best man that I know. He's, as a father, you couldn't get any better. Where he and I had our points of tension was when it came to ministry, he was old school. I'm new school.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And what were some of those points of tension? Because I think when we look at this podcast and people are looking in, I think what blesses people is not only the positives, but how do we navigate some of those areas of tension? What were those points of tension for you? Like for me, I had some of those things that helped me with my relationship with my kids. What do you all see as those things that, okay, I'm gonna learn from that so that I don't generationally make that same mistake? What are some of those things?
I ain't gonna lie, you and Daddy had a whole bunch of arguments.
Yeah.
Like them two.
Yeah.
You talk about like two Rams just dead. Like that's all it was.
And I can see why.
Yes, they are very strong.
We are the same person. And it's interesting because I was talking to my brother about this about maybe a month before my mom passed. The Lord told me in prayer, Deidra, your dad's gonna learn from you.
Yeah.
And tradition has always taught a specific generation that women cannot preach. Women cannot be preachers.
Come on now.
And he laughing because he already knows. And so there have been times where even where my father, he didn't really have a lot of respect for educators either. And I'm like,
and you're an educator.
I'm an educator. The Lord also called me to preach. All right, so here we are, Lord.
How are we going to deal with this?
And I've never gotten any pushback from my father.
Wow.
Ever. He sat me down one time and said, you're the first educator who I've truly respected.
Wow.
And he's also told me, he said, I didn't believe that women could preach until I heard you.
Wow.
So it's sometimes just learning not to say anything. I think that's what I've learned. That was that struggle and that tension piece where sometimes we seek our father's approval so much that you start, as JR said, doing too much. You need to sit down somewhere. You're doing too much.
You're trying to get
You
it.
know.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you're just quiet and you learn to just be still, the puzzle pieces start falling into place to where the Lord will work on somebody's heart.
That's
I
good.
don't have to explain to you why God called me into this field or why God did. He'll show you. I'm just gonna sit back.
Wow.
And yeah, that was my struggle area. Just trying to break that. I can't break it.
Yeah.
God can break it.
Yeah.
Showing that he uses whoever he wants and no man has a say-so in who he chooses.
How he wants.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
Dude, what about you? Because the dynamic is different because you're the son.
Yeah,
You're the oldest son.
Yep. I think with me, my dad is very rough around the edges. Like how she said, he's very militant and very just cold-hearted sometimes. Like he
He ain't
really is
lying.
that blunt.
Yeah.
So with me, my mama would always tell me, she's like, in that area, don't be like your daddy.
Wow.
And it wasn't until I got older when I understood that, because I remember I was in this relationship in college, and I would always act just like my daddy towards, the young lady that I was dating. And after I got out of that relationship, I was like, man, I was like kind of mean, kind of just rough and everything. And God had to work on me being more tender, more understanding, a little bit more softer.
Yeah.
And not viewing things from only my perspective, but through the lens of multiple people.
Wow.
So I feel like that's one area that I'm still currently working on. But I feel like when I do get my own family, I will have a healthy balance of, yes, I can be stern, but I can also be, soft. as
Yeah.
well. So,
I love it. I've heard you all through this conversation not only mention your dad, who was the preacher, but I've heard you mention your mom.
all the time.
Yes.
What role did she play in you all becoming who you are today?
A very important role. And the reason why is because, when my mom and daddy first had us, they was broke.
Broke.
Yeah, like we didn't have a lot of money. So they couldn't afford a babysitter. So my dad, went off to work, and my mom had to quit her job and kind of put her career to the side. And she raised me and my sister. So every single day we was with
mama.
Wow.
We was with mama
Yep.
every day.
So she was a huge role.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Everything from, I remember her holding our hand and teaching us how to write our names.
Wow.
She would get lunch prepared. She'd take us to the library, pick out books. Like, she taught us
Go to the park.
go to the park, feed the ducks. Like, I remember all of those. And when she passed, I told JR, I said, those are the memories that I remember the most.
Yeah.
Sunday afternoons, mama's getting the cabbage cut up. Deidra, come cut this head of cabbage for me.
Wow.
Just teaching you the basic things of
Yeah.
life. But she was such a praying woman, and she was that buffer because she knew her husband rough around the edges.
Crazy. That man crazy. I'm telling you. I think we playing.
Daddy, if you watching this, we love you.
Yeah. Yeah, I did.
Yep.
But she was that buffer where she knew. She'd look at us. Y'all know your daddy.
Man.
She smoothed things over.
Yeah. Yeah.
Daddy will say something crazy, and she'll go and fix it.
Wow.
That was just her behind the scenes
grace.
type of
Yeah.
yes.
She was always the mediator. And the thing about her was, like I said, my dad, very militant, hardcore, but she brought that balance. That
Yes. Yes.
She really did bring that balance.
Their dynamic was interesting because my mama witnessed her father dying in a car wreck. I think she was about 11 or 13.
I
One
think
of
she was
those
14.
ages. Okay. And then my dad grew up without his mom. I think he lost his mom at 5 maybe?
He 5 days before his 5th birthday.
Okay.
He
Wow.
lost
And
his
so
mom.
they both, you've got a woman who grew up without a father, a father who grew up without a mother.
Without a mother.
And so they brought this balance. When I
Yeah.
tell you, it had to be divine because I'm like, ain't no way. There's no way.
That's interesting. Wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so then on our end, to have one of those pieces, the core pieces ripped out of your life. it's hard.
Yeah.
So we cling, and my brother and I have always been close, but you know, we've clinged to each other even closer now.
Yeah.
Where he always knows I have his back. I know he has my back. But just remembering those principles that mama and daddy taught us.
Yeah.
And they each had their own role. Daddy taught us how to think.
Wow.
There is no situation that he and I cannot get ourselves out of. We have thought our way. We know the beginning, we know the end, we know the middle. We've thought our way through it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Mama taught us how to love.
How to love.
She did.
Powerful.
Yep.
Yep.
That's powerful. And I'm looking at this, and most people think when you grow up in a preacher's home, you would never guess all of this. People would think it's just, we come in the door, we're going to have Bible study for 3 hours. And we're But here's a home that has been in you know, saturated with love and order and direction.
Yep.
Like, that's beautiful. And it has shaped you guys into who you are today.
Yeah, a lot of people tell us, they're like, man, the way how y'all grew up was rare. It wasn't common.
Yeah.
You know, 2-parent household, and like I would say both of us got a healthy balance of both.
Yeah.
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 You know, we got a lot of what my daddy has, and then we have a lot of what my mama has, and I think we just have that healthy balance.
So to see now how God has, through your childhood, brought you to where you are today, is it a trip now that you guys get to be at the same church at this stage in your life, in ministry, kind of in the same place? Like, how much of a trip is that? And, you know, how did that happen anyway?
We've kind of always been at the same churches our whole lives. Like
Really?
the church we grew up in from 5 years old all the way to well within college.
So we've done everything together growing up. The only time we were separated from each other was when we went to different colleges.
And I chose to go to a different I got accepted to the college he was currently at. And I said, I've always lived my life in my brother's shadow. And I wanted to develop my own identity. So I chose to go to another school. And when we dropped him off to college, oh my gosh, I was crying in the dorm room. And my brother's like, oh my God. But I've never been away from my brother.
Yeah.
So even when my daddy he works for corporate Walmart. He got the job promotion. Hey, we're moving you from Kansas to Tennessee. Obviously, my mama's going with her husband.
Right.
You had just graduated from college, engineering degree, and he's like, I'm going with
had
you.
no job. No money, no job. And I'm like, hey, I ain't got nothing that's keeping me back here in Kansas City.
Yeah.
Just go.
He's like, I'm leaving. And here I am, my first year of teaching. Where am I going to eat on Sundays? I'm going with y'all.
Y'all not leaving me.
So I decided to go. And then, from there, we joined but one other church.
Well, the thing is, when you came down here, you were single. Yep. She was single, and how many years later, y'all?
I don't know. LJ shot his shot. My brother always
Before
say
they left.
he threw a Hail Mary. Because I was gone. I'm like, nah.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Our lives were completely different when we first moved here.
Yeah.
Just been 5 years. We've only
5
been here
years.
for 5 years.
Wow.
Yep.
You can just see the Lord's hand just work with everything.
Yeah.
Like I said, I came down here without a job, no money, but I always had this dream of getting into IT. And you saw God use Mama to open up doors and get me the position that I have now. So, yeah, the Lord has just been awesome to our family these past 5 years.
Yeah.
Even though, things have changed, he's still good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
And that is where we're going to come to this commercial real quick, everybody, on June 29th. June 29th, 2024 at 11 a.m. We're having our Preacher's Kid Mixer. If you're here in the Murfreesboro area, join us here at Zion Christian Ministries. We're going to have brunch. We're going to network. We're going to have some discussions because I know so many of you want to get your story out and talk to some other preacher's kids because there's a space for us. We've got a lot to say and we've got a lot of story to tell as we kind of make this full circle coming back to you guys. Now we're looking at you thriving where you are in your own respected places. And part of this conversation, our whole concept is called PK Plus. I wrote a book called Pastor Plus. And here's what I said. My fundamental thought is simply this. Every pastor at some point is going to have to answer 2 fundamental questions. What else and what next? My dad, he asked that question at 66, and it was at the end of his pastorate. And when he got to that point, he realized, I don't have nothing else, and I don't know what's next.
Wow.
I said, I'm not going to ask that question at 60. I'm going to ask that question now.
Yeah.
What else do I have? And what's next for me if I decide to retire today from church? What's next?
Yeah.
So we all have a plus side. And so now I've been able to create multiple streams of income because I've tapped into my plus. And so the church is not bondage for me.
Yeah.
I can pastor free.
That's solid.
I can fire who I need to fire. And I'm not worried about, they're going to leave the church. No, because this is not my only source of income.
Right.
Yeah.
So you all are not just doing ministry behind 4 walls. You're ministry in the marketplace. And what I mean by marketplace, out in the world. Jesus says, be salt in the earth.
Yeah.
God has planted you in the earth. You started in this beautiful home with these 2 beautiful parents, and now you've been literally sprinkled into the earth. Let's talk a little bit about that. How has God used all of those lessons and values and standards you've learned in mom and dad's house, and now you're out in wherever you're doing, what you're doing?
Yeah.
How's that kind of related to who you are?
Yeah. I think with me, so growing up, my dad was always reading the Bible.
Yeah.
When I say reading, I'm talking about studying for hours upon hours upon hours. And I told myself, I was like, I don't want to be a preacher, pastor, deacon. I don't want nothing to do with it because he's always studying the Bible.
Yeah. Yeah.
And as I've gotten older, I bought more Bibles,
Look at
and commentaries, and listening to sermons.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm slowly starting to become like this man. And I'm like, God, I don't like this. But I can kind of see the direction that he's pushing me towards as far as getting into ministry, eventually. But I feel like right now he's calling me, he's basically telling me to prepare. I don't know what for.
Yeah.
But I know I need to prepare.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm doing. Like I said, studying the Word, going through my own personal Bible studies. And even when I get on the game with my fellas.
Yeah.
I love to play Call of Duty. I'm an avid Call of Duty player.
He is.
Yeah. College football coming out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
College football and everything,
Yeah.
2K, all that.
Most
But
definitely.
the thing with me is I can start to see my boys, they Christians, but they, they out there.
Yeah.
But I love when they ask me questions about the Bible.
Yeah.
Because then they feel comfortable enough to come to me and I can explain things to them. Because they like, okay, I can't really talk to my pastor about this issue or whatever, but like
Yeah.
I can talk to my boy because he knows the word.
Yeah.
So you're starting to see like God use you in different ways like that, just, with your homeboys and stuff. So
Yeah.
I mean, you're no slouch either now. You're an engineer. You got an engineering degree. Like, God is, so
Yeah.
talk a little bit about how's God blessed you? What, other skill sets that you're using that doesn't require you to be in the church per se, but you've got some good stuff going.
Yeah. So I work in IT. I'm
Yeah.
a network administrator right now, and I'm working on some certifications to get into cloud engineering.
Yeah.
But aside from that, he's blessed me, financially to, go ahead and pursue my first house.
Yeah.
I love it.
So what I want to do is purchase my first house.
Yeah.
Me and my dad, we trying to get together to, buy up some more.
Yeah.
Buy up some land and
Yeah.
some houses and,
Come on.
pretty much start a family
Family
business
business.
and real estate.
I love it.
So-
I love it.
Yep. It starts with one.
Yes.
Got to get that first house first. And then
Yes.
after that, then we're going to start, planning.
That's
moving
kingdom.
forward. Exactly.
Yes.
That's legacy. That's
Yes.
wealth. That's, come on, man. That's, I was looking at something the other day and I was reading something and the word redemption is a salvific term. We use it all the time. We preach about redemption. We talk about it, but actually it's a market term. To redeem something means to buy back.
Huh.
And I'm thinking to myself, as God is using these, there's a bar.
I was rushing today. I ain't have a notebook with me.
That was mine.
I gotta go watch it back and be like, all right, I'm right there. Okay.
I started to think about it like often when God is describing his relationship toward us, he's using like marketplace terms. You know, I bought you back from sin. So now I'm like, okay, I got to have some like business savvy to understand the depth of that concept. Like, wait a minute. I couldn't get myself out of it because I couldn't afford it.
That's solid.
Someone had to purchase me back. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, oh, this is good.
That's solid.
And so it seems like when we see scripture, all of the disciples, they were all businessmen, like coming from the marketplace. And I'm like, it's got to be something into this.
Yes.
You know, so now, Deidra, you are, I mean, as I'm learning your personality, as he's telling me like how you were, it makes sense. It makes sense how God has placed you where you are and doing what you're doing at such a young age. So what are you up to? How is God using you in the space that you're in?
Well, I'm in leadership. I'm an assistant principal. So all things leadership, I nerd out about it. I do. And I find it funny that I'm like, you're an administrator, I'm an administrator, daddy's a manager. Like, got some strong-willed people in one area.
But it fits your person, because even as a kid, she was bossy. She was telling people what to do, trying to get things in order. But what is she doing now for the school?
Yep.
Bossing people around.
I love it.
It's interesting because growing up in the dynamic that we did, in the church dynamic that we did, and no shots to it, but you always thought that ministry was just being in the pulpit.
Come on.
And it's not that. I try to tell people, when you crave the pulpit more than you crave winning souls over,
wow,
that's a problem, and you need to sit down somewhere. I mean, that's as honest
good.
as I can be.
That's
so
good.
many people crave the pulpit, but you don't know how. You crave the pulpit, but you haven't mastered the people.
Ooh.
That's a bar.
That's a bar. That's a bar. We gotta, glad we're recording this.
Yeah,
because we gotta write that down.
Yeah, you're talking.
He was like, ooh.
Yeah, that's a bar. All right. Yeah.
And so in leadership, even in the area that I'm in, I feel like when God calls people beyond the four walls of the church, you have the spheres of influence.
Yeah.
He's in technology. I'm in education.
Yeah.
And you just have to work your craft and work your gift. It's kind of like what you said a couple of Sundays ago. Know how to manage your grace and know what gift and skill set you have. There are some things that I just know I suck at that. I'm terrible.
Yeah.
But in some areas, the ministering comes throughout the school day.
Yeah.
Where God will strategically place you. It's only by the hand of God that I lost my mother, had to leave a school that I loved so much. We worked together. You know, I
Right.
love my Laverne kids.
Yep.
Left that school. He places me in Shelbyville, 12 minutes from my house. I'm working in my community.
Wow.
Influence is there now.
Come on.
And then strategically places a teacher next to me and across from me. Teacher next to me loses her son the next month.
Wow.
Teacher across from me, best friend is murdered.
Wow.
Teacher down the hall, their mother is ill. And so it's like you're ministering where teachers will come in. I have an open door policy.
Yeah.
I will stop what I'm doing, and sometimes I'll get on the walkie, getting ready to turn my walkie off. All right, 10-4, cut it off.
Ministry's about to begin.
I'll cut it off,
Yeah.
and I'm just in the moment with the people. That's ministry. It's not always the pulpit.
Wow.
Sometimes it's I'm behind my desk.
Yeah.
And I'm just listening to a person or talking with a person or helping them navigate through life.
Yeah.
Sometimes people just need somebody to talk to.
Yeah. And it's never, you said it's not always the pulpit. And I argue it's not even majority the pulpit. The pulpit is probably 25% of it.
Yeah.
Because the most of what we do to have impact has to do with what you're saying. You think about it, you take somebody who like you're in the school, somebody who's craving a pulpit, you're only going to be limited to the people who show up on Sunday morning.
Yes.
Exactly.
And if you're at a church that your congregation is not that big, let's say you got the average church in America is 77 people. So if that's the average church on average, 77 people, how many thousands of kids are you exposed to every day?
Thousands upon thousands.
And it's every year it reloads.
Yep. And they're constantly, Miss Barnes, I need to talk. Miss Barnes, I get some crazy stories.
See?
But I listen.
Yeah.
And then it helps me figure out, okay, I know that that's a prayer point when I get home.
Wow.
That child's struggling with their identity.
Wow.
That's a prayer point. That child's, dealing with some abuse. They need to get out of that house. And of course, strategy and stuff behind it, but you're just exposed to the world. That's why I appreciate Paul and his ministry so much, because his reach was different.
Yeah.
He was just built different. He had a different language about him. Same mission, same call. But our approach to ministry is different. I can approach someone who got sleeves of tattoos.
I wonder why.
And I can talk to them about real stuff. But my approach and my reach is just different.
Yeah.
And his approach and his reach with his boys is different.
Yeah.
He's the type people have always flocked to him. Always. He has like that counsel about him, and he gets that from my mama.
It's like I said, I'll go back to our Call of Duty sessions. Majority of the time, they just therapy sessions. I'm just over here listening. I'm like, all right, man, like what's going on? And they talk about girl issues and different things that they're dealing with on the job, but it's like, it's important for people to get that out.
Yeah.
And knowing that they have a safe space that they can go to and talk about these issues.
Yeah.
So
when the college football comes out, I'll send you an invite.
Yeah,
We're rolling a dynasty. It's about 16 of us in there. So
y'all Bama fans or y'all?
we what we do is we just pick a team
Just
and
team?
we build a dynasty and we go with some house rules and all that involved.
Yeah, we don't pick like the best teams in the game. Like,
we
can't go.
You gotta
Georgia.
build a dynasty and all of that. You know, so yeah.
I'm down with that.
But see, it's just like that. Like that's the part and that's the side that people don't really realize. Like, man, we're just, for me, I just want to. At the end of the day, I want people to know. It matters to me when it's all said and done, when people ask about Chris Johnson. I want it to be said like, am I looking for, he was the most profound preacher? And I could care less about that. He was the best orator. I don't care about that. I just want him to say he was a good guy.
Yeah.
That's a good guy.
Yeah.
Like those words mean a lot to me. Just to say that. That's how I live my life. And hopefully that has been the mark that we've all made on people, is that they were impacted by the life we live.
Yeah, that's solid.
That brings me back to my mama. I can say out of everyone that knew her, I've never heard anything bad said about her.
Wow.
Nothing at all. Nothing.
And it's like, I want to be like that.
Yeah.
And I remember, this was years ago, she would ask me, she was like, how do you know what God is calling you? Like, what is he calling you to do? And I remember I would pray that he would give her purpose because, at that time, we just moved to Tennessee. It was rough. We didn't know anyone here. And after she had passed, during the memorial service, when I say we didn't know anybody here when we first got here, at her memorial service, it was packed out.
It was a line.
Just
outside
people,
the door.
yes, outside of the door of the people that she impacted here in Tennessee in those short 5 years.
Wow.
And when I saw that sight, first of all, I was proud to say that was my mama.
Yeah.
And second, told myself, I was like, I want to be like that.
Yeah.
After I'm gone, I want to be like that. I want to impact people and, just change the world.
Yeah.
One person at a time.
Well, when you talk about her legacy and her purpose, from what I've gathered over the past 45 minutes or so, seems to me like her greatest point of purpose and greatest point of legacy is sitting right here.
Wow.
Hey, everybody, this has been the PK Podcast. You need to get there on June 29th to the PK Mixer. It has been a pleasure. We went all the way to Kansas City.
Yeah, we did.
Get y'all some barbecue.
Yes, sir.
That's it. Some real barbecue.
Some real barbecue.
Barbecue out here. Little.
Listen, we're tuning out. Until next time, go to the website, thisiszion.org, and register for the PK Podcast. This has been Bishop J, CJ, JR, and Deidra. Peace.
Yo.